this happened, what, literally 5 minutes after we went off the air on Thursday's show, where, we talked about the Los Angeles Chargers with Daniel Jeremiah in the first hour of the program. And obviously, how high I am on the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh's ability to plus them up. I keep using that phrase. That's the phrase that you use when a coach comes in and they wind up having more wins than the previous year. Last time Jim came in to the NFL, he plussed the Niners up 7 wins from 5, just like the Chargers had last year, all the way to 12. And then they went on an incredible playoff run that wound up having them in the Super Bowl in one of the years that Jim was there. And so I feel the same way that the Chargers can do it. If Justin Herbert's healthy. And
by the way,
I didn't know that would be an if in any way, shape, or form. But as soon as we went off the air, news filtered out from across the street of our studios there in El Segundo, California, that Herbert had an injured foot, the dreaded plantar fascia injury that followed Wednesday's practice, in which, by the way, Justin Herbert in 11-on-11 ran one into the end zone and celebrated with his teammates. It didn't look like he pulled up. There was no hitch in anybody's giddy up. Anybody that was witnessing practice had no idea anything like this had happened. And so suddenly what was a mirthful press conference moment from the other day when Jim Harbaugh laid out how he would be handling injuries whenever he was at the podium. In case you need a fresh reminder, this is what he had to say earlier this week.
So for clarity, whenever I'm asked about anybody's medical condition other than my own, the following will be my best effort to relay information. I am not medically qualified to categorize or speculate as to how someone else is feeling. The best I can do is say that someone is working through something. 2, I get the report from those who are qualified and then follow the instructions. 3, if at times I look or sound like I am not a medical expert in the field of medicine, guilty as charged.
All facts.
So it should come as no surprise that when this was announced on Thursday, Jim was asked if Herbert had hurt himself on that play I was referring to, that 11-on-11 period where he ran into the end zone for a score. And he was also asked if Herbert had been dealing with foot pain prior to Wednesday. Harbaugh's response was that he was, quote unquote, not qualified to know that information.
Okay.
So cue what Jim had to say about what Herbert's up to.
Just like I said, full steam ahead. The preparation, the work continues. He's not on the field in the practice, but the meeting room, still in the training environment. That chemistry, that rapport that you build with those position players, his teammates, that continues.
I mean, so that's he's going to be in a walking boot for 2 weeks, and then he's going to be, I want to get this verbiage appropriate because this is what scares me the most. He will be on a quote unquote gradual return to play protocol. And as of August 1st, the day that this came out, he was expected to be playing in the first week of the NFL season still. 5 weeks to go. Listen.
Yikes.
It feels like Justin Herbert's in 2024 in the Joe Burrow 2023 position, which is lower leg injury that was suffered in training camp. You won't see him the rest of training camp. You won't see him on the field for any of preseason at all. And then in week 1, every single moment that this guy takes a snap and he's rolling to his right and he's rolling to his left, we are just going to be eyes on his foot, and hopefully the eyes won't roll in the back of the head of all Charger fans. Because I'll tell you what, Jim didn't leave Michigan to go coach Easton Stick.
And yet,
I'm not lying. I'm just spitting truth from my hotel room here.
No,
Okay,
you're not lying. Rich, good one thinking about this in the Burrow aspect of last season. Burrow, I think, a little scarier, right? Calf, so close to that Achilles. One could definitely lead to the other. We've seen it before. We saw it with Rodgers last year. Bottom of the foot, but this is something that is just going to nag, and I think it's going to be there. It's going to loom for a large part of this year, I feel like. And
I'm sure
not
there's
good news.
Orthotics, all sorts of therapy,
true.
rest,
But still,
immobilization and all of that stuff. But, when week one, you're trying to avoid Max Crosby,
right.
Or Christian Wilkins against the Raiders, that's when, all that rest and relaxation might suddenly get aggravated. Now, listen, I'm also not qualified. I'm another Michigan man, not qualified. I've had plantar issues. We've had conversations about this on the air. Del Tufos is to roll your foot on top of a softball, or whatever the hell that is.
His
I got one right now. I'm doing it. I do it all show. It's great. Look, here's the baseball. You literally just rub your feet on it, and it feels good. Alleviates the pain.
Let me ask you this question.
Baseball.
I could bring one over to practice.
Mike and Chris, just, I think this is asked and answered. Have either of you played quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers and have the entire franchise's hopes placed in whether your foot being rolled back and forth on this ball works or not?
Can I answer this, Chris?
Listen, listen, let's hope he's fine.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's hope he's fine.
Obviously.
Let's hope that what we're supposing is not the issue whatsoever, that he will be fine. This is a guy that's played with cracked ribs, for crying out loud, before.
Yeah, broke
this
a
is
finger
tough guy.
last year. He's had all kinds of bang,
Right. I hear you. And this is where, if this is going to be a run-heavy, run-first offense, this is where this is helpful, right? But the idea that Daniel, and just literally the next segment of the show, it'll have been 24 hours since Daniel Jeremiah appeared on this program, right? And he was talking about how he watched the running attack be very inventive and how Herbert would be used in the running game. Does that now remove him from that portion of the playbook for the year? For a good portion of the year, for the beginning of the year?
For a little bit, yeah.
So, and it's just yet another reminder here. By the way, there was a moment in time where it looked like two Western Division teams would be without a quarterback for the time being. It appeared when Geno Smith did not show up on Wednesday during portions of training camp, and it was reported that he had a hip and knee that was being looked at. We thought there'd be two teams that would be down starters for the time being, if not keeping an eye on to see what's going on prior to week one, when Seattle welcomes in Denver to kick it all off. However, Adam Schefter, part of the media, charged today to say that Geno Smith and all of his testing did not reveal anything significant. One source told Adam, quote, he shouldn't miss any time, which is a sigh of relief to be breathed. But it's just another fresh reminder, guys, because Easton Stick is going to get a lot of time with the ones right now. And you know who's after him on the depth chart is, you want to talk about strange bedfellows and interesting bedfellows. The kid who bounced Harbaugh from the playoffs 2 years ago, Max Duggan, TCU's quarterback, is number 3 on the Chargers depth chart. You got to wonder if they're going to start looking for other quarterbacks to, fill spots during training camp and maybe extend the depth should possibly anything be needed. But that's why you don't trade backup quarterbacks in the NFL anymore. Just a fresh reminder. Last year, there were 67 different starting quarterbacks in the National Football League, 67 of them.
Wow.
That's not a record. The record of the single season with the most different starting quarterbacks in an NFL season since 1950, that record was set the previous year in 2022, and there were 71 different starting quarterbacks. And then in 2021, the year before those two, there were 62 different starting quarterbacks in the NFL, which is tied for the 4th most of any single NFL season since 1950. So in other words, in the last 70 plus years of NFL football, the last 3 years, we have seen in order the second most different number of starting quarterbacks, the most starting number of different starting quarterbacks, and the fourth most in the history of the National Football League in the last 3 years in succession.
Man.
Wow.
So I know it sounds like I'm making a big deal out of this, but it's also par for the course here.
Yeah.
And there, but for the grace of the football gods goes your team. And, that's why Atlanta, who we started the show with yesterday because of Arthur Blank's commentary on why the Falcons chose Michael Penix 8th overall. That's why they still have Taylor Heineke sitting there. They got 3 starting quarterbacks. They got Kirk Cousins. They got Taylor Heineke. And in case, Penix might not be ready, that's why they have him. And if Penix is ready, they got him. That's why you got to start taking a look at who's third on your quarterbacks, your favorite team's quarterback depth chart.
Let me look that up.
For real. Well, it's Trey Lance for you, sir, is it not?
Yeah, but who's third?
Oh,
I mean,
they
Who's
still,
third? Who's third on the
Cooper Rush is
Cowboys?
still listed as 2 right now.
yeah. I mean, they got Cooper Rush still.
Well, thank goodness, because some in our media think Joe Milton's going to take over at some point. So,
Well,
thank
I mean,
goodness the Patriots have 3.
That's why you need to take a look at who's third on your team's quarterback depth chart. I mean, Kyle Allen is sitting there in Pittsburgh. We're going to talk in hour number 3 about is it Fields or Russell Wilson, who still has a questionable designation next to his name on the depth chart. But, you just take a look at it, who's third, and those guys might play. That's why, with Anthony Richardson coming back, why the Colts went ahead and got Joe Flacco, because they'd already seen what they got from Sam Ellinger.
Well, and Gardner
I mean, Brock
Minshew
Purdy
left.
was third on the depth chart, and he might be the first $60 million a year quarterback in the NFL a couple years later.
Man, that's crazy.
I mean, it's just it's an unfortunate fresh reminder of what's going on here.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.